First of all, I mean, the resume and the application is, generally speaking, the easy part. If you figured out whether you want to use a first name or you want to use an initial and your last name, that can easily slide you through the application and resume part of the process. But then it always comes down to the job interview. Unfortunately, nobody ever hires anybody based on the resume. They just send you an email and say, hey, you're hired. You have to go in. And that is the challenge for trans people and for gender nonconforming people, how you present and how that process goes forward. That's what I'd like to talk a little bit about. Because you have to be, of course, professional, but then you have to figure out how you're being received by your audience and figure out how to get past that if that's a problem. The important thing, I think, is to make sure that you're seen as an individual, a specific individual with specific talents, not just a member of a group. We all go into a job interview and we're all a member of a group. Here's a white guy. Here's an African American woman. Here's somebody else. We're all members of groups. The challenge in a job interview is to make sure they see you as a very specific individual with specific talents that they want, that they can make use of. And you can be a benefit to them. That's always the focus. I know I was talking to some students at Oberlin last week, and they were saying, well, I've talked to people, in job situations, and they just don't get it. They give me a weird look because, we're all over the gender continuum now. It's all kinds of different presentations, and you have to figure out how to get past that if that's becoming a problem. If somebody's giving you that weird fisheye or things like that. And the secret is to always move the conversation back to what you can do for them. I want to talk a little bit about how that happens. I mean, everyone wants specific answers to specific questions because each of us is in a different place. We look different, we look like ourselves. But the important thing to remember is this is a good thing for you and a good thing for the employer. You're becoming, or you are, who you were meant to be. That's good for you. That's good for an employer. There's nothing wrong with that. And that's what you have to make sure they understand when you're talking to them. That you're in the best place you've ever been, and you're ready to provide them the benefits that they're looking for. If you're asked about your gender, I suggest being open and honest. There's no reason to try to avoid it. If that subject comes up, just tell them, yes, I'm transgender, or I am whatever the right identifier for you is. But then quickly move the conversation to what I can do for you. That's what it should be about. And that's what your focus should be when you're talking to these individuals. So there's actually 5 things I suggest that you do in a job interview, 5 things to avoid. The first is focus on the benefits you can provide your prospective employer. I know I've said that before, but there's a different way to do this. Because if you say that you're, let's say, I'm really good with people, or I'm a good detail person, or I'm very creative, or fill in the blank, any of those things. Everybody says those things. Everybody. So what I would ask you to do is go through your strengths, list your strengths. 3, 4, 5, however many strengths you have in this particular, job description that you're looking for a job, and then find a story. Find the best story you have about that strength. Because people love to hear stories. We all watch movies, we watch plays, we watch sports or stories, beginning and an end, and something happens. Everyone loves stories, and they remember stories. So instead of just saying, oh, I'm a good detail person, oh, great. Instead of saying, well, yeah, I worked for this organization, or I volunteered here, and I had this huge project, and I organized all this stuff, and this happened, and the results were this. And it's like, oh, all of a sudden I've got a story and I can remember it. And you can find those stories. And then by the time you've finished an interview, they've had 5 or 6 really cool stories about you, instead of just generic strengths that everyone goes in and talks about. That's how you can change the energy and the dynamic of an interview. Even if it starts off and you feel a little bit off balance and doesn't seem like it's going well, always focus on those things, because people want these strengths. And if you leave them with stories about how you did it, you can stand out. So pick those stories out and use them. And then it would be good before you're interviewing to do a mock interview. Have a friend who's willing to be mean to you. All friends are willing to be mean to you. They're friends. A friend who's willing to be mean to you a little bit and do a mock interview. And so now you've got those stories. You've got those stories and rehearse them. Oh, this is another thing. As an actor, I know, if you've ever seen movies and you say, that person was so natural, just felt so natural. You have to prepare to be natural. It doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem like you should. I'm going to an interview. I'm just going to be who I am. I'm just walk in. I'll think of something. No, prepare. Prepare, prepare, prepare. The more you prepare, the more natural you will actually be, because you'll be comfortable. You'll know what you're going to say. You'll have, and if your friend runs you through a mock interview, have them ask tough questions and see how you answer them. You ever seen these interview shows? Of course, you got, politicians. Senator so-and-so, what do you think about this bill? And he goes on the interview show thinking, I don't want to talk about that bill, I want to talk about this thing over here. And so he changes his, he says, well, that's interesting, but the real thing is this issue. You change it. You keep moving it around to where you want the answer to be. You answer the question, don't ignore the question, answer it and move on. Answer it and move on to your strengths. Your strengths are always what you want to emphasize.